Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Sup, sluts? Sean Patrick here. And let's get started with that refund you aren't going to get. The feds are giving Air Canada over $4 billion in loans, which come with several conditions, the most important of which is that this is contingent on them giving refunds to any traveler who canceled their trip or had their flight canceled due to COVID. Several people were interviewed on the news being very happy about this. Well, my guess is that they somehow don't know that when any level of government spends, it's taxpayer money that they're spending. Ian Jack, the VP of Public Affairs for the Canadian Automobile Association, said, "Our understanding is that these are loans and not grants that we do hope will be repaid to the taxpayer." Well, that is the most disheartening use of the word hope I've ever heard. When you get your refund, thank your neighbor so that you can pretend it wasn't just your own money in the first place. Now, in question period last week, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh said Ontario is setting up field hospitals. What is the federal government going to do to help them? Well, Minister Patty Hajdu responded far more politically than my paraphrasing. Who the fuck do you think is setting up those hospitals? It's the Canadian Armed Forces, you dink. You can't get much more federal than that. Now, in further ignorance, something called the End of Lockdown Caucus has been created, featuring MP Derek White Power Sloan, MPP Randy Moral Dumbass Hillier, the People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Too Right for the Right Bertrand, and some fucking pastor who said the 10 Commandments have been replaced by the 10,000 COVID Commandments. Way to make an annoyingly long storybook even longer. Look, I could go on for hours about these cunts, but the fact is, anyone who says that the public health measures are unlawful or unconstitutional clearly hasn't read the Constitution. Therefore, they are neither fit to speak on the topic, nor should be in any position of governance. There's a fancy little thing in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms called the Notwithstanding Clause, which states that any and or all of the rights can be temporarily suspended if deemed necessary by the government. And it also doesn't say anywhere in there that anyone has the right to cause or further amplify a public health crisis. But I need to go to church. Well, if you actually believe in a creator, it logically follows that everything is their house, thus negating the need for a church. That is, unless you miss story time with a pedo in a dress. Now, I can't wear a mask for whatever reason. Okay, then stay the fuck away from other people. And my favorite, masks don't work. Well, proper fitting, tight weave, multi-layer masks inhibit particles from passing through in both directions. It's basic physics. But I can't see how some people may be a bit confused, as I found a public health website that hadn't updated since last April and still says that they are as yet unsure as to the effectiveness of masking. Something else I found disturbing was the way in which mainstream media has been misrepresenting the vaccine rollout inequality. Two different reports stated very heavy-handedly that only pharmacies in rich areas without outbreaks have received the AstraZeneca vaccine. They played this up for quite a while before stating that the pharmacies in low-income places tend to be small and don't have the facilities to administer the vaccine. Well, talk about gaslighting. Why send vaccines to pharmacies that can't administer them? These neighborhoods need vax wagons and pop-up clinics. Of course, redirecting vaccines to hotspots is the smart thing to do, as long as your pharmacist doesn't have to administer them in the back alley beside the dumpster. And if they're going to be vaccinating anyone and everyone in hotspots 18 and over, they're going to need Pfizer or Moderna. You know, with the vaccine hesitancy, which we're coming up on a little stronger in a moment, thought it would be important for me to point out that even when my turn comes up, and apparently I can now get the AstraZeneca because they've lowered the age as of today to 40, I'm not going to be rushing out to get it because I can stay home. I go out maybe once every 5 days for groceries and beer. I'm safe. I want to make sure our public health care professionals are safe and our EMS staff are safe. The police, the teachers. We need to get everyone who works in a factory or at a grocery store vaccinated. I'm not afraid of the vaccine. I'm afraid of what happens if someone else doesn't get it because my ass is at home with it in it. And since we're already on the topic of vaccines, let's see if I can't clear up a common misunderstanding about them. People are getting worried about breakthrough infections, which are people who catch COVID after being fully vaccinated. It's causing a lot more unnecessary vaccine hesitancy. Here's the facts about how all vaccines work and some numbers specifically about the coronavirus vaccines. Firstly, all of the COVID vaccines currently approved by Health Canada have a more than 99% chance of keeping you from being hospitalized 2 to 3 weeks after receiving one dose. That means that there is still a chance. Now, the largest number of breakthrough infections requiring hospitalization I found put your chances at about 0.005%. But it's important to note that I had found a number with two more zeros in it. The efficacy percentages, which we've heard so much about, range from 50% to 90%, depending on which vaccine you received and whether you've had one or both doses. This refers to how likely you are to become infected at all, according to studies. But the studies don't make these numbers facts, which is why I didn't bother to break it down for the different vaccines. The studies involve thousands of people. We're now giving it to billions. People respond to vaccines in different ways. Just like very few people develop blood clots after AstraZeneca or J&J. Very few people who continue following the public health guidelines will catch the virus, even fewer when vaccinated, and still fewer will end up in the hospital. Some people's immune systems don't even accept some vaccines. All of these are reasons why you still have to wear a mask and keep your distance even after being vaccinated. In fact, it's even more important because after vaccination, you're more likely not to even know you're infected because of how the vaccines reduce symptoms. Thus, an actual firm efficacy rating is impossible. And it's important to remember that no official ever said you'd be 100% immune. Another thing I'd like to clear up is the magic outdoors. There seems to be a prevailing belief that you don't need to be masked or distanced if you're outdoors, and that's just ridiculous. While the air circulation does make it far less likely for you to catch the plague, if you spend time in close proximity with someone, say like having a coffee on a park bench, or walking in a group of 50 plus unmasked high school kids, which I actually saw the other day, you are at risk. If things like sun and wind instantly destroyed the virus, it couldn't spread. Now, our media keeps asking officials why the US isn't giving us their stockpile of AstraZeneca, as they haven't even approved it for use yet. Since y'all are obviously having a hard time figuring this out, let me set it straight. While I believe this is yet another douchebag move by the US, and figure they're just waiting for the point where they couldn't possibly administer it before it spoils, my mom taught me at a very young age that someone else having something that I don't doesn't mean that I'm entitled to it. It's theirs, and they can do whatever selfish, misguided thing they want with it, such as using it for target practice to prepare for mass shootings. MP William Amos ended up in video parliament sans pants. Now, according to reports, he had come home after jogging and was changing when his computer camera came on for some unknown reason. Some media outlets suggest that he be punished for this, but I think that if it was an honest mistake, he should be thanked for showing the Conservatives exactly what to suck. Now, to finish on another sexy note, the closing of the brass rail has caused unforeseen side effects. 6 construction workers have lost their jobs after hiring a stripper to entertain them at the job site. Several pictures and videos show the group cavorting masklessly in close quarters and drinking from a magnum of Grey Goose. Wow, at least these guys weren't cheapskates. The pair. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this bit without giggling. I didn't write this. The, the parent company, Madame Homes, was quoted as saying, "We hold ourselves and our trade partners to a high standard and insist that they conduct themselves professionally and ethically. Those standards were not met in this case." Beautiful. Now for the joke. When I first heard about this, I was pretty sure I knew who was responsible, but it turns out that these guys were drywallers. And since Craig hires me for drywalling, he's off the hook. All right, everybody. Wear a mask, stay the fuck away from each other, and wash everything a lot.